Hello, how are you? I'm Matt Christopher, and I just wanted to say thank you very much to all of you, the 26 or over 26,000 people who have now watched my videos, and the thousands of people that have supported me with my last video. And I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'd like you also to like and subscribe, please, to my channel so that we can get this information out. Now, I want to do a follow-up video on the issue of the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses and what I said was their Vanishing Act. Now, one of the reasons why their time is coming to an end is because what they have done is presided over one of the greatest falsehoods in all of Christianity. Many of the comments that have been made on my channel is that people had been greatly affected growing up by the policies of the then governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses in terms of their education, in terms of who they married or didn't marry, in terms of the path of their life, because they were absolutely assured that the stewardship of the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses was directed by Jehovah himself. Now, what I'd like to do is to bring you some of my research, and that is I'd like to give you some information from the Awake of October the 8th of 1968. And I want to demonstrate just how irresponsible and downright dangerous the claims made by the governing body were. Now, in this article, which is October the 8th, 1968, Awake, and the title of the article is "What Will the 1970s Bring?" Now, I know that many will either know exactly what I'm going to say, or their parents would have told them of the hysteria and the downright lies and deception that was permeated by the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses during that time. But what is most detestable is the way that they co-opt Jesus Christ into their falsehoods. And I'm going to read, or paraphrase at least, on page 13 of that Awake article. This is talking about the end. It says here, and I'll just start from the middle of the paragraph 2, and it says, Jesus said, that was in his great prophecy, that containing of the last days, and I'm paraphrasing, and he listed the many events that would mark this period. He states, "Truly I say to you, that this generation," in italics, "will by no means pass away until these things occur." Matthew chapter 24 and verse 34. So they're co-opting scripture into this. Now, this is the bit it's beyond disgusting. It says, and I quote this little portion here, "Jesus was obviously speaking about those who were old enough to witness with understanding what took place when the last days began." Obviously. Go down a little bit further. Talking about the sign of the last days. It says, "Even if we presume that youngsters 15 years of age would be perceptive enough to realise the importance of what was happening in 1914, it would still make the youngest of this generation," in italics, "nearly 70 years old. And remember," I'm going down a little bit further, "and remember, Jesus said that the end of this wicked world would come before that generation passed away in death." This itself tells us that the years left before the foretold end comes cannot be many. Now, what a disgrace! Now, that was in the 70s. That was it. Sorry, that was in 19 68, where we have the idea here that Jesus was obviously speaking about those who were old enough to witness with understanding what took place in relation to this nonsense of the 1914 time period. Now, there is absolutely no justification for anybody to claim that they speak in God's behalf and in Jesus' behalf, and to presumptuously state that this is what Jesus meant. And never mind, that idea changed many, many times. But I want to go to another article, which let's get from my research, which one of the respondents mentioned about the issue of not having children. Now, unfortunately, some present-day Jehovah's Witnesses feel that those of us who speak about the messaging from Watchtower on having children, or may I say not having children, because of the time of the end, is not true. I've had many people say that that was never the case. Now, the Watchtower, the Awake I want to focus on, which is an absolute and utter catastrophe, a human disaster and also a spiritual disaster. The Awake of November the 8th, 1974, and the main heading of that Awake is this the time to have children? ? November the 8th, 1974, front page of the Awake. Is this the time to have children? On page 9, with the heading, is this the time to have children? ? The governing body, this is what they write. I'll just read in the middle of the paragraph here. This is talking about, basically those who are aware of the signs of the times and the nearness. And you won't be able to see it, but there is a husband and a wife, I'm imagining, and the wife is stroking her chin, and the husband has a vexed look on his face, and there's these sort of little thought bubbles. Population boom, millions starving, skyrocketing costs, deteriorating moral climate, and of course the one that is closest to the woman is worldwide destruction near. My goodness. Okay, page 9 of the 1974, October the 8th, Awake. I'll just read in the middle here. It says this: many informed couples nowadays hesitate when it comes to childbearing, asking themselves, is this really a time to have children? Next page, page 10, goes through the horrors of it's become so difficult to feed your children, look after your children, and couples have decided it's simply not worth it now. So for their own contentment and happiness, some couples have decided, at least for the time being, to remain childless. Now, if you like horror stories, you will like this one. This is spiritual food by the governing body in this aptly titled, Is This the Time to Have Children? And this is the example that they give. They give an example, page 10, of all of these factors that are making it so terrible to have children. This is the example that Watchtower gives for prospective parents. This is what they could look forward to. Thus, a mother in Sweden wanted to protect her 13-year-old daughter. This was about helping her to study the Bible with her and the principles. She asked her husband to encourage the daughter to attend the meetings of Jehovah's Witnesses. He refused, saying, right, he wasn't a witness, She's old enough to decide. She's good-natured and she's well-mannered. I'm paraphrasing. This is what he thought. Get ready for this. Until the night he entered her room to reprove her from coming home late. She suddenly drew a knife and screamed, "Stay out, or I'll stab you in the belly." Almost daily similar experiences are heard or read about. Another wise couple said, "I'm glad that we don't have to rear children in this wicked system." They are determined to wait for better times to have their young ones. Imagine this nonsense. And this, as I said, was in 1974. It's October the 8th, 1974, awake. Is this the time to have children? What absolute rubbish. Now, unfortunately, my friends, what happened is that many faithful Jehovah's Witnesses listened to this ungodly rubbish and they didn't have children. I mean, what an example here. We don't know the circumstances of what may or may not have happened to this young woman in Sweden, but by any reckoning, her behaviour to pull a knife on her parent is extreme, dangerous, troubling, and there's something demonstrably wrong, which is certainly something extreme. This is not a warning for people not to have children. Now, it also goes on page 11, and here once again Jesus is co-opted into their madness. They quote Luke chapter 21 and verse 23. "Woe to the pregnant woman and the one suckling a baby in those days." And that was the destruction of Jerusalem. But it asks this poignant question. This is for poor woman or couple that wish to have a child. If you had been living prior to that destruction and knew of its nearness, would you have considered that a time to be having children inside the province of Judea? My goodness me. And then this insanity. Today there is a great crowd of people who are confident that a destruction of even greater magnitude is now imminent. This has been a major factor in influencing many couples to decide not to have children at this time. Now, while it goes on to talk about other aspects of why you shouldn't or could or might not have children, the fact of the matter is that this is as clear a messaging from the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses that children were something that was the less desirable situation to find yourself in as a married couple. That was the nearness of the times. Now, I was born, before that time, but around that time, okay? So I'm a 50-year-old guy, okay, with my own child. Now, the point is, what kind of people would continue to demand that people that speak out against their complete blasphemy, because Jesus Christ did not tell them this. God never gave them this information. These two articles that pinpoint their fixation on fictitious dates and times and seasons to suit themselves, even in this illustration here, to prevent couples or to at least put roadblocks in for couples not even to have children, let alone higher education, let alone owning their own homes. And there's other articles that go to show that where they expound the value of selling your home and spending the last days of this wicked system pioneering. Never mind, this was 50 years ago. The point is that what people have been left with is a life in which they have been robbed of their natural rights as a human being to have children or to have a life of their choosing, and still to keep their faith if they wish in the Christian tradition, not for Jehovah's Witnesses and not for the governing body. Now, I have a plethora of research to back this up, but those two examples I wanted to share with you. Now, what I would say is that for those of us who wish to witness to Jehovah's Witnesses, one of the things to show them is that every time that the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses puts into print their opinions, it is like the ripples in a pond. The moment we have the overlapping generation prophecy. Okay, that is another way for Jehovah's Witnesses to try to figure out when the end of this evil, wicked world will be, in which all people that do not abide by the rules of the Watchtower will be killed. Now, we know that, the same as everything that we've read today, changes. Doesn't suit their agenda. It was fine during the 1970s to sprout this kind of nonsense, and no matter what happened, they're not responsible. The fact is this, that we now are at an age in which we can go back over 100 years of documented evidence against this organisation. It's not a religion. The second president of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, J.F. Rutherford, made it very clear in his publication, Religion, that it was a snare and a racket, and they weren't a religion. To that we say amen. They're a corporation. They always have been and they always will be. The Watchtower Bible and Tract Society was never set up as a religion, but a publishing house. It's gone from being a publishing house to a multimedia corporation, an investment corporation, and also it is an international building corporation. I hope that this video is also informative, and I wish to say thank you very much to all of you, to your love and your support, and you encourage me to produce more of these videos. I hope that you enjoy this one as well. I'm Matt Christopher. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you very much.